Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Red Room. Tonight, we're going to talk about more communication, and this time tonight, we're going to talk about the bunny and rabbit yabbit game. We're going to talk about the 8 recommendations for great communication. And you know that the number one predictor of divorce is when people don't communicate about difficult things, when they avoid conflict, when they don't work it out, and it builds and becomes many different things depending on what it is that they're avoiding. So tonight I made up a game a while back to describe the most common way that couples get into quote-unquote fights and go around and around and don't stop fighting. And I call that the bunny and rabbit yabbit game. So let's look at these elements for common sense communication. There are 8 of them. So the first common sense thing about good communication is, number 1, make an appointment. Now, anytime you want to, just type me a question and I'll pop it in here and answer it best I can for you. Also, if you have a question or something that you fight about, that would help me because I have a point focus of examples to use in these communication techniques that are good for you. So, number 1, we want you to make an appointment with each other. Ask your partner for a time to talk about a topic. And many people say, well, not right now, not ever. They really don't want to talk because they know anytime we're going to have a talk, that means it's probably going to be unpleasant. What we want is for our talks to be manageable and not that unpleasant, and they end up solving something and making a difference. And if we can continue to talk that way and communicate that way about the things that bother us or our troubles, we end up not avoiding it, walking through it, and I like to think of it as we keep it clean. Week to week, we keep it clean. There's nothing builds up, nothing that gets in the way. So, first of all, make an appointment. Let your partner know the topic you wish to discuss. So, the more you can set it up for the other person to feel like they know what's happening, what needs to be resolved, and it's like us managing or coaching or mentoring our children or our teenagers. We want to set it up with the people we care about and the people we have relationships with. We want to set it up for a win-win solution. So it's not like we want to punish like the old-fashioned way or get back at somebody with revenge or confront or put down. That's the old way. We want to avoid that. So now, set them up to feel like they know what's going to happen and they know what you're going to talk about. And kind of like you bring them onto your team. So your partner has a choice to say yes or no or not now. And say to them, you know, I'd like to talk about this. And it may be now, it may not be now, but we need to resolve this. And if you want to think about it for a while, cool. If it's no or not now, he or she needs to set a time in the very near future that would be convenient and follow through. Otherwise, again, it's that avoiding. And when we avoid, number 1 predictor of divorce is when we avoid conflict. So we want to solve the problems and keep it clean. So the next one is quiet setting and no more than 1 hour. So in terms of common sense communication, you want to have a success. You want that win-win, which means just pick one topic. Don't go on and on, partly because if we communicate too much, our partner can only listen and hold so much. So keep it to 1 hour or hopefully less and only one topic. Then you feel like you can check something off the list, it's done, you don't need to come back to it, it's not going to pop up again. So pick a quiet setting where you're not going to have kids coming and interrupting you, or a waiter, or the telephone, so that you give it real respect and importance. Set aside a quiet room with privacy and no distractions, no interruptions from family, members, or friends. Turn off your technology, the TV, the computer, the telephone, etc., or just don't have them around you. And then set aside a time no longer than 1 hour. If you have a question or if you have a topic that you get into conflict about, please ask me, type it for me on the chat, and I can use that as an example. So this is about common sense communication. So the third element of common sense communication is one topic only. Not saying that there aren't a whole lot of things that you want to talk about, and you want to make a list of those other things, but just pick one. Set up the discussion for a win-win and stick to that topic. If you bring out a list of complaints, it will not feel like win-win. It can feel like an attack, so stick to one topic until it gets some resolution. And if you're sidetracked from the original problem or question and it doesn't get resolved, keep a notepad. And if something else comes up, write it down to be addressed on another day. If you have a question or if you have a topic that you have a hard time communicating about or that you fight about, I'd love for you to ask me about that so that I can use it, answer it, or use it as an example. So number 4, we want listener and speaker roles. I don't know if you've heard of this, but there's a tool developed by our friends in Colorado, one of the great teams of researchers around marriage and communication and relationships. And this is from Fighting for Your Marriage, books, audio or videotapes, and it's Prep Educational Products. They're a research team in Colorado. And they have created this delightful tool called The Floor. Look at this. It's the floor. And it looks like linoleum squares or tile squares. And the floor is a kind of a simple representative of what we might call a talking stick, if you've ever encountered one of those, where if you're sitting in a circle and each person gets to talk, and the person who is speaking holds the talking stick, and when they're finished, they pass it on to the next person, and then it's their turn to speak. It guarantees that everybody gets respected in terms of being able to speak and to be heard, so that everyone who doesn't have the talking stick, or everyone who doesn't have the floor, like in a business meeting, is a listener. If you'd like a copy of The Floor, just send me an email. I have my own version of it as well. So, listener and speaker roles, that's what the floor guarantees. Just like in a business meeting, whoever has the floor is the one that we're listening to and has permission to express themselves. So, listener and speaker roles. Use the floor to ensure that you speak and listen one at a time. Avoid playing the bunny and rabbit yabbit game. Make sure you're listening. Use the listening quiz for a refresher. So we've been through the listening quiz already, but I haven't taught you yet about the bunny and rabbit yabbit game. After I'd been seeing couples for a long time, I realized that there was a very simple way to teach them what they were doing that didn't work. So it's not uncommon that I teach about the bunny and rabbit yabbit game, and right in that very same session, both of the husband and the wife, or both partners in the relationship, catch themselves doing a yabbit. So guess who I've got visiting me today? I have right here bunny and rabbit yabbit. So the way bunny and rabbit yabbit work is Bunny has an idea that she wants to share with Rabbit. And she says, Rab, I want to talk about ABC. And then what does Rab do? Rab says, yeah, but I want to talk about XYZ. And then what does Bunny do? Bunny says, yeah, but I wanted to talk about ABC. Then what does Rabbit do? Yeah, but I want to talk about XYZ. Yeah, but I wanted, yeah, but I wanted, yeah, but I wanted, yeah, but I wanted, yeah, but I want. And does it ever stop? And after a while, this is the way we fight. Neither person gets heard or listened to, and they yab at each other almost like they're in a tennis match where the ball never stops. So if this continues to go on too long, guess what Bunny and Rabbit Yabbit are doing? They're not in a dialogue. They're not in accord. They're not together solving a problem. They end up in yelling and screaming and war. So, isn't that fun? What we want to do is stop the Bunny and Rabbit Yabbit game, because if it continues too long, what happens is it becomes what I call courtroom. Because then if Bun says, well, Rab, you still haven't seen my side of this, and since you haven't seen my side of this, I am going to show you that I have built a case here that supports my side. It's quite a lengthy and heavy and reasonable case, and in here are things from last month that show that my point needs to be heard. Well, then what does Rab do? Well, Rabbit also says, yes, Bun, but I have a case, and my case is higher and thicker and more important than yours, and actually it doesn't go back to last month, it goes back to last year. And then of course Bunny builds her case even fatter, and she says, well, I've got things in my case from 5 years ago. And Rabbit says, well, I've got things in my case from your mother. She says, well, your mother? Well, then I've got things in my case about your mother. Well, I've got things in my case about what you did when you were 10 years old. And what happens is we've got two prosecuting attorneys defending themselves. So Bunny has her case that defends her and makes sure that Rabbit is now being prosecuted because he's her enemy, and she's going to make sure that he's the guilty one. And of course, Rabbit says he is the one who is the winner, and he's got a case that he's going to build against Bunny, making her bad and wrong. So what have we got here? We've got a couple who are supposedly best friends and lovers and closest to anybody in the whole world, and here they are attacking each other like prosecuting attorneys, trying to make the other person bad and wrong. And that's the Bunny and Rabbit Yabbit game. Now, you know, some couples even continue that Bunny and Rabbit Yabbit game beyond courtroom into what I call war, when they're so angry and frustrated that they get out of control, and then they begin hurling insults and abuse and even violence. So, one of the things that I would like you to notice is if you ever play the Bunny and Rabbit Yabbit game, because if you do, I guarantee you, just remembering about the Bunny and Rabbit Yabbit game, you're going to stop and say, wait a minute, I was going to yab at you. Because after all, it's not very difficult, is it? Instead of having, we've got Bunny over here and Rabbit over here, ABC, XYZ, ABC, XYZ, the two come to a conclusion of whose side they're going to talk about first, where they say, okay, let's talk about ABC. So Rab goes over to Bun, and together they look in the same direction, and they talk about one thing, whether it's his or hers, doesn't matter, because once they have some track record, they know that they're fair. They're going to talk about his, and then when it comes time, they're going to talk about hers. So any questions about that? Any specific examples you have of arguments or fights that couples get into? And does the Bunny and Rabbit game apply to that? So that's part of the listener and speaker roles, that one person brings up a topic and we both talk about that topic rather than yabbiting each other. When people get that bunny and rabbit yabbit game and they start catching themselves like, whoop, I was going to yabbit. It's almost instantaneous that then they start really communicating and solving a problem. And when we get into the bunny and rabbit yabbit game, it can be an old habit of immature communicators, because immature communicators usually are afraid that they're not going to get their way, which is a little selfish, self-centered, and not kind, not generous, not empathetic with the other person. And it's surprising to me how many people appear to be generous and sensitive and understanding, and yet they're coming from that self-centered, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what I feel. And often they say, yeah, but it's not fair. Yeah, but what about me? And if you're in a relationship with someone you love, there's always time for you, for both of you. But if there isn't time for one of you, then there's never time for either one. So that's about the listener and speaker roles. Avoid playing the bunny and rabbit yabbit game. So anybody got some ideas of questions they'd like to ask? I love it when you ask me questions, and fights that you get into, or things that you'd like to ask me about the bunny and rabbit yabbit game, or the courtroom, or war. So now, number 5 of 8 is positive body language and tone of voice. And we talked a bit about this previously in listener and speaker roles. But tone of voice should be firm but respectful and pleasing to hear. You know, firm means confident, clear. Think about people who are pressured and they're really giving you energy and they feel pushy, or people who kind of just like, well, I don't know, and they kind of whine and kind of just, well, I'm not sure exactly what I. So we don't want to be either the wimp or the bully. We want to be just confident and centered and clear, intelligent. Remain thoughtful and unemotional. So stay in your intelligence and stay out of your heart. Sometimes if you're feeling kind or empathetic and loving, that's going to help, but any of the other feelings are going to get in the way of being intelligent. And emotions don't solve problems. They just point out how we feel about certain things. No screaming or yelling, ever. It's not appropriate. Adults don't do that. And if we're parenting our children, we, when they get old enough, we teach them that yelling and screaming really never gets them what they want, so that they find out that yelling and screaming is inappropriate and waste of time. No sarcasm, no cynicism, no teasing to hurt, no shaming, no name calling, such as you're lazy, you're selfish, you're stupid. No interrupting each other, no rolling of the eyes with that. That's an insult. That's a slap in the face. No turning away, insulting body language, no making faces or using disrespectful gestures. All of those are so powerful, and they're not to be used. Intelligent, civilized people don't do that. They don't use those manipulative techniques, because each time we use something that's that manipulative, which means we're trying to control somebody or jerk somebody around or push them into something, we lose the place of being intelligent and respectful, and therefore not adult and immature. So that part of positive body language and positive tone of voice, check in with yourself and see, how you slip with that. And if you do whatever you need to do to manage yourself and to apologize for those kinds of behaviors, because they really never work, not with anybody. Okay. Anybody got questions? Anybody got a topic that they fight about? We're talking about common sense communication tonight, the 8 parts, and what we've talked about so far is make an appointment, a specific time. You get a quiet setting and have the communication about whatever topic you need to cover, less than an hour long. Take only one topic and make a note of any other topics that come up, but only take one at a time. Number 4, make sure you use the listener and the speaker roles. And number 5, positive body language and positive tone of voice. Now, number 6, be tactful with your words. Now, this can be a habit, and you may not even realize that you're doing it. Avoid extreme words or kind of like blanket statements that they usually have some kind of manipulative or coercive or pressuring or know-it-all dynamic underneath it. So avoid extreme words such as you never, whatever it is, that would be inaccurate, wouldn't it? You always, also inaccurate. You should, that's shoulding on somebody or shoulding on yourself. Or you ought to. Instead, use words that are tactful and courteous, such as, it would be nice if you would. Or, I appreciate your willingness to do such and so. And always express your thanks, your appreciation, your gratitude, your approval, your admiration, whatever it is. We have such a long list of negative words. And it was interesting to me when I started to study being positive and finding the fun things and the good things, and how our language has many more negative words than it does positive ones. Well, of course, because the negative things are what we don't want, and we're going to object. So any questions? Type me a question, you guys. Are you able to hear me? Are you able to type in there? Just wanting to check in. Number 7. Oh, here we go. Good. Thank you, dear, for asking me this question. My wife has steadily gained weight year after year since we've been married. When I try to bring up the subject, she just brushes it off. Oh, my goodness. This is a hard one. This is a very, very difficult one, and thank you so much for saying it. He says, I've tried various things. Yep. Steadily gaining weight, and we know that in our country, this is not an uncommon problem. And that says that nationally we have certain dynamics that are against health. And we're now scrambling to learn what to do to keep our health. But it's like the tide has moved our culture into this way of being, and for us to stop it is going to take a while because it's such a big machine. Gaining weight and quote-unquote using food can be such a very hopeless feeling for people because it can be like an addiction. He says, I've tried various ways to say it with love. Yes, I understand, dear. For you, I would say it's probably time to write something, and what I call it is writing a love letter. And a love letter means writing about all the things that you feel about your relationship and your life together. And let me just type this in. And if you would email me the love letter. Oops. Let me just check that I've got it typed correctly. Yes, there you go. Email me at heatherc@heathercarlisle.com and ask for the love letter. The love letter is it's a structure in its sentence stems, where you ask, you express how you feel about certain things. You express what you're angry about, what you're hurt about, what you're sad about, what you want, what you love, what you regret, what you're sorry about. And it ends up being a large letter that talks about everything you care about. Because one of the things that happens when a spouse is out of control with their health is to me, that's just one symptom, that there are other things that he or she hasn't been able to handle or move or shift. And there are always logical reasons for that. So we all know that if we behave like mature adults, we keep our health, that we exercise in the right way for our body, and that we eat healthy food for the optimum health for our bodies. And we've got information about that everywhere. So when I'm working with people who have a problem with food or alcohol or some kind of indulgence or something that, especially with food, where we need food to keep ourselves going, but we need to learn how to manage our food properly, that's usually a result of something inadequate in our beliefs, in our self-concept, in how we've constructed our day-to-day life and our lifestyle. So if she's been gaining weight steadily over the years and she hasn't been able to stop it, that says that she doesn't know what to do. And if you talk to her about it, she's probably feeling hopeless because she doesn't know how to change her lifestyle or her patterns or her behaviors or her bad habits. And maybe she doesn't want to, and doesn't want to because it feels like it's hopeless and it's just too much energy and she'll never be able to do it. Or because if she does, it's going to bring up some issues that she really doesn't want to confront because she's afraid of them. You've been married to her for a while, it sounds like. You may have an opinion on that. What do you think it is that gets in her way? Because there's something internal or external getting in her way of staying healthy. Because you're right, the point focus is not her losing weight. The point focus is what's missing in her that she can have a healthy and happy life. It could be many, many things. And when I look at the psychological components in my reference book regarding overweight, there are 16 different scenarios that usually in some way or another relate back to something in the family history that was unhealthy. And it can be from anything from just not being active, to being abused sexually, to being afraid to look pretty. Let's see. He's saying, I'm not really sure about the reason, but she definitely does not want to discuss it. And probably doesn't want to discuss it because she's afraid of revealing something, or she thinks that it's not going to go anywhere that's going to make her feel good. I'm just thinking about what your options might be. Sometimes you need to come and see somebody like me, and then the two of you discuss it in a threesome, and it feels safer, and it can be talked about in a therapeutic setting. Up until now, I've tried to be gentle. Yeah, and if gentleness doesn't work, then that means that you're going to need to be clear and say, the best way to approach something like this is not about her, but about you. And obviously, if you've tried to be gentle, you really love her. And that means when we want to bring up a difficult question, we use cushion statements. And that means cushion it around the beginning and around the end with things that are true and strong and positive and unquestionable. And he says, should I be firmer? Yes. And do it in a very intelligent and kind way. So perhaps something like this. And I'm mentoring you now, just off the top of my head. Sweetheart, I've been thinking about something for a long time. And I can't stop thinking about it because I love you so much. And you know I'll never stop loving you no matter what. But I'm kind of scared, and because I don't know what to do. And I feel sad about it because I need your help. And I don't know what my part is and what my part not is, because I want to respect you. And I want the very best for you and me in our marriage. So do you see, what I was doing is I was building and building and building cushion statements until I get to the place where I say what is scaring me. And to say, you know, I've tried to talk to you in the past about this, and I know you don't want to talk about it, and I understand that completely. And even now, if you don't want to talk about it, that's okay with me. But I'd like you to think about it, and I'd like you to give me some options. Because in essence, what I'm doing is I'm trying as best as I can, in the most intelligent way I can, to complain about something because I want to request a change. And I don't know what that might be. And I don't know what my part is. But I'm really, really worried about your physical health. And your weight gain is showing me that your health is not as good as it used to be. And I want to live, and here come the cushion statements. And I want to live together with you for decades. I want us to have fun. I want you to be healthy and happy and strong. And I love you no matter what you look like. You know that. It's not about that. It's that I want you to be healthy and happy and free, and I want you to be able to talk about it with me. I want you to be able to trust me and feel comfortable that there's nothing that you can't tell me, that we can solve this together. I know that you and I have solved a lot of problems together, and if you'll help me in whatever way you can to be on your team and to help you along with it, I'm there for you. Trust me, I'm willing to take whatever risk it's going to require to get you healthier and stronger and more fit for us and for you over the years. So do you see, I just laid on probably 3 times too many cushion statements, but I was giving you examples of how to talk to her about it in a way where it's not just about she's worried about her usage of food, but about the whole system. He says, saying, I need your help is something I've never thought of. Good. Because you can't solve this, and obviously she's having a hard time solving it herself. And if the two of you tackle it together, well, I think a husband and wife, when we tackle something together and we really care about and respect each other, there's pretty much nothing we can't do. I know Jack and I feel that way. When we're in accord about something, we have different personalities, we have different strengths, different perspectives, and when we go together on something, nothing stops us. And it works wonderfully, it's heartening. There's a lot of information now about weight loss. And you and I know that weight loss isn't just about diet. Most of us have access to how many different diets that we know work. So it really is what I know that's true of any coping mechanism, any quote-unquote addiction, any self-soothing or comforting habit that we have, and we all have them. there's a, underneath there's a need that's not being met. And, you know, that's very personal and very unique to each of us. So think about it this way. When we're out of control with a substance or a behavior, like we typically think of addiction or bad habit, there's a continuum. So down here at this end, we've got, well, when we get stressed, we go and talk to a friend. And then if we get more stressed, we're just needing to talk to somebody every day. And sometimes, you know, it's those people that call their mother or their husband or their wife 3 times a day. Well, then whatever it is that they're stressed about isn't improving. So then they start to feel like they have to talk to that person every hour. And then they're so compulsed that they can't be by themselves. And then they become needy. And then they become out of control with love addiction. And then they end up, you know, so it's a continuum. It's a continuum of how we take care of our stress level when we haven't figured out how to live healthily in a balanced lifestyle. And when I think about a balanced lifestyle, there are 18 building blocks for that balanced lifestyle. And I have a goal-setting procedure on helping us examine those 18 building blocks. But I can pretty well guarantee if somebody is overusing some substance or behavior, there's something missing in their lifestyle. And that usually comes from something that's undeveloped internally that maybe we don't want to develop, are afraid to develop, or think we ought not to develop, or don't know how to. Does this give you any ideas, any thoughts as to what it is that your wife is missing in her life? You know, it can be something to do with our physical health. And, you know, I know that for me, especially when a woman passes menopause, there are a whole lot of things that contribute to weight gain. But you've said it's been regularly over the years. And usually that means that we don't have physical activity in our lives, and we all need that. Whatever way suits us, whether it's bicycling or walking or swimming or running or playing tennis or playing golf. Golf isn't that much exercise, or just working out at the gym. Some kind of an active lifestyle that gets our body moving. We really require that for our health, especially those of us nowadays who are knowledge workers, where we're not moving much out of our chairs. So physical. Then the next step is belonging. We need to be able, so I'm going to talk about 6 elements. Honestly, I don't know what's missing. I will try saying, I need your help. Love that idea. Thanks. You're welcome. So check in with me about this. First of all, physical exercise and activity. That, and you know, the bottom line for that is pretty clear. And let me just show you this model that I have. It thrilled me. I found it through somebody referring me to a lecture from TED. And if you don't know about TED, you can go to TED.com. I'm going to type it in here. TED.com. And type in 9 lifestyle habits with Dan Bettner. So let me show you this. Dan is part of a National Geographic team that did a study, and I'll show you this. See this model, this handout. So they looked at the people on the planet Earth that live longest, healthiest, and they found 9 lifestyle habits of those people. And I won't go into those details. You can go to TED.com and see his video. But this talks about those things, what we really need to do to stay fit and to have a good lifestyle. So I'm just wondering which ones may be lacking in the lifestyle that you have with your wife. Move naturally. That's the exercise, which means we need to move our bodies naturally in a healthy way. The right outlook, which means we have two things: a downshift, which means we take breaks, we relax, we take time to chill in healthy ways, not just sitting, eating gallons of popcorn, but relaxing and doing whatever it is for us to just take a break and switch gears. I have something that I like to do. I have a table set up with fun stuff on it, and I make earrings or something, just with my hands, quietly doing something like that. It's one of my favorite ways to take a break. I'll just go make myself a pair of earrings. That's one of my current things. Purpose now, which means we want to know what our purpose in life is today. What am I getting up to do today? What is it that's meaningful in my life? Eat wisely. Now, here are the 3 things about eating wisely. This is an interesting one. The men who live healthiest, longest lives on the planet Earth live in Sardinia. And one of the things there is their wine, their red wine, has more of that ingredient that red wine has that's beneficial to our bodies. And so this recommendation is 1 glass of red wine at 5 o'clock, so later in the day. So that's one of the recommendations. Plant slant, which means eat more vegetables. And the 80% rule, which is to eat 80%, only 80% of what we want, and then leave the other 20% so that we don't overeat. And then the third aspect is to connect. So there are 4 aspects in this 9-part model: move naturally, right outlook, eat wisely, and connect. So connect, there are 3 elements. Put your loved ones first. And sometimes if somebody is using something, like your wife is using food to comfort herself in unwise ways, then sometimes it feels like food is more important to her than you are. And for various reasons, that may be true. It may be that there's something missing in your relationship. Belong. That means belong to an association, belong to a club or a nonprofit or a class or a group of people. Somewhere or another, find a place where you bond and belong. And then the third one is the right tribe. Hang around the right tribe. Hang around the healthy, happy, successful people. And they say there's a little rule of thumb that my health is going to reflect the 3 to 5 people I'm closest to. So if the 3 to 5 people that I am closest to are very overweight, then I will probably be very overweight. If whoever the people are they hang around with, my income will be an average of the 3 to 5 people that I'm closest to. So there you go. That's kind of a little overview on lifestyle. Something for you to consider. And I'm just wondering if, as you were listening to those 9 lifestyle habits, if anything popped up for you, sir, about you and your wife and your lifestyle and what might need some improvement. He says, I honestly don't know what's missing. There's something missing. Something. Oh, well, her whole family is fat. There you go. It might be as simple as that, that she was just raised with certain patterns of food preparation and eating and lifestyle, and that's just how she was programmed, which means needing to learn and to incorporate a different way of living. And it's easy for me to say, right? But that means deciding that the two of you can take her by the hand and take her into a healthier life. walking together, preparing better foods together, hanging out with people who are active, making new friends, staying away from her family. Does she spend a lot of time talking with or interacting with her family? But she is not like them in other ways, and she loves her family, wants to be with them. Oh dear. Well, we might have found a key here. And very likely her family is warm and soft and snuggly and nice to be around. So this is difficult, isn't it? If she loves her family and wants to be with them, then she probably doesn't have the time left over for friends who have a very different lifestyle. One of the things you might consider is, and this is what I recommend, and I don't know if you may already have this, is having connections with other couples that have great marriages. Wants to be with them. You said family first, loved ones first. Yes. Healthy family first, healthy loved ones first. And family first to me doesn't mean my family of origin. Family first to me as an adult means me and my husband and our dependent children. Now it's me and my husband, and we need, since our children are grown up, we need to let them go. Yes, when they're here, they're first, but they only come around during the holidays. Let's see here. So yes, I see the problem now for the first time. Oh my gosh, dear. Yay! Yep, family comes first in some people's minds, and they spend all of their discretionary time on family. And there is that philosophy that some people have that says blood is thicker than water, and that family, no matter who they are, needs to be number one. I left my family and my home when I was 18, and I never went back much because their lifestyle and how they lived on a farm, wasn't at all what I wanted, and I had lots of places to go in the world and lots of things to do, as much as I love my family. So to me, family is my house, my home, my husband, and however much the kids connect with us, that's good, but they need to have their own lives, and I need to depend on them to make their own lives and make their own lives good. And then the other part of my family is our best friends, the other couples that have great marriages, that we have common interests and we have great conversations with. To me, that's family first. He says, it should have been obvious, but are you recommending that I try to pull her away from them somewhat? Yeah. Not in the sense that we're pulling her away, but that do you have couples who are friends of yours? Because in adults, my preference is that we date other couples that have great marriages, because their marriage somehow mirrors that we have a good marriage. And it's very interesting when we're with another couple. The other man and the other woman bring out different parts of Jack that I can't and I don't because I'm me. And I watch him interacting with her, and I watch him interacting with him. And there's a subtle sometimes and not so subtle thing that happens where I fall in love with that new little piece of him that came out in response to her or him. It's one of those things that brings what we call novelty and arousal, the two things necessary to keep our marriages enriched: novelty and arousal. Novelty, something new; arousal, meaning a little excitement, a little sparkle in the eye. A sexual arousal, yes, but in friendships, some laughter, some fun, some excitement, and maybe just gentle excitement. But being with other couples, I think, is the most enriching thing for a marriage. It's like dating other couples, but you want other couples who give you space, aren't intrusive, and maybe you have dinner with them or travel with them or exchange childcare with them. But other couples and their marriages, because to me that's the most important unit on the planet Earth, is the relationship I have with my beloved. And that is second to nothing. So, yes, technically I'm saying pull her away from her family, but really and truly what we do is we move towards something better. And that means moving towards having time with another couple that shares one or more of your interests, people that are healthy and successful, happy and fun-loving. Thank you, Heather. Sorry, gotta go. Oh, yes, and it's almost 8 o'clock, too. You're so welcome, and thank you for a wonderful and complex question. I love answering such things. And I'm just wondering if anyone else listening has a question as well. I love when you ask questions so that I can customize my broadcasts. That's what makes it fun being live. Let me see. I think the last point I was going to make with my, here we go. Common sense, good common sense communication. Number 7 and number 8. Number 7 is upset when you're communicating. Take a time out. Stop it. When we get emotional, we stop being intelligent and we stop being, therefore, problem solvers. If one of you gets angry, upset, then take a time out. It takes about 30 minutes to cool down. Go to the bathroom, get something to eat, walk around the yard, write in your journal, go for a drive. Whatever it is to take a break, and maybe take a break from it for the day or the week. When you get angry, blood pressure goes up and the brain is flooded with too much emotion. It's hard to think clearly when you're flooded. If you don't take time out, then ugly words can be said that might be hurtful. Hurtful words damage the relationship and make the other person defensive and protect themselves rather than wanting to listen to you. And then number 8, be specific about the topic. Be very specific as to the time and the place the event took place when you were in terms of what you want to talk about and what you're upset about, what complaint you have and what problem you want to solve. Because the topic is, I want to complain, and then I want to request a change. So here's like some little examples. Last Saturday at the dinner table, you said thus and so. Very specific. Yesterday morning, when you went out to work and left the towels on the floor, I felt such and so. Tuesday, when we were at your grandmother's house, I asked you to something or other, and you agreed. Then you did not do as you promised. So, see, each one is a very specific thing. It may be symptomatic of something deeper and bigger, but if you can solve that specific thing, then you're directly relating to whatever it is that's underneath that issue. And then it feels like it's a piece that you can bite off and solve and get cleaned up. If you solve something intelligently and carefully and calmly like this, and you do it just once, forevermore you'll know that you did it calmly and intelligently before, and you can do it again. After you've done this about 3 times, where you bring up some topic and you talk it through intelligently and you take a time out if you get upset, you get very competent with solving problems like that. You do that 3 times, you probably won't go back to an old way of conflict or avoidance or stubbornness or guilting or shutting down. So today we talked about common sense communication and the 8 parts of that. We also talked about the question that the gentleman asked when his wife has been gaining weight, and he said he couldn't figure it out, and what we figured out was probably about the people that they hang out with. So that was quite delightful solving that problem. I hope you enjoyed solving that mystery along with him. So the eight points of communication. Remember, we had our visitors here. We had Bunny and Rabbit Yabbit. And we want to stop you doing Bunny and Rabbit Yabbit. Because if you stay on either side of the tennis court, you end up playing courtroom, becoming enemies. And you can even go into war rather than being side by side and saying, let's as a team solve this problem. I know we can do it. And then when you use common sense communication, you've got 8 points here. Make an appointment. Use a quiet setting for no more than an hour. Choose only one topic. Use listener and speaker roles. And if you can, use a talking stick or the floor. Positive body language and tone of voice. Be tactful with your words. Upset, take a time out, and be specific about the topic. Thank you all for joining in tonight. It's wonderful to have listeners and viewers and people who ask wonderful questions. So I enjoy coming in and filling the Red Room with good ideas. And I'll sign out for this week, and I'll be back next week in the Red Room at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night. Hope to see you there, and tell your friends to listen on in. Thank you, everyone, so much, and good night.